right, welcome back. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show, Global Morning. Discourse of the day where we'll be taking a very important talking point as we look at the Hamas-Israeli war as it reaches a truce amid other concerns. And we've got in the live studio our guest, esteemed guest. He's the Senior Ambassador to Nigeria. His name Abdullah Abu Sharesh, who is joining us to get a cleaner and non-biased look as regards to what's playing out in Palestine and how we are hoping this war would finally come to an end. Nice to have you in the studio.
Very good morning, and very good morning, Africa. Very good morning, Nigeria.
All right, some very interesting talking talking about the new world order coming to play. But first of all, let's look at, can we safely say we're approaching the peaceful resolution of this Hamas-Israeli war, even though Benjamin Netanyahu said, okay, the final onslaught on Hamas is coming to an end. Now they're moving to the Lebanon border where they want to face the Hezbollah group. For you, how is everything panning out?
Well, thank you so much, Shane, for having me today, and very good morning indeed. You repeated in your introduction 3 times Hamas-Israeli war, which I used to say that we need, as a diplomat, as a responsible people, to correct all of these narratives. It's very important to say that this is not period. No, it's not a war again between Hamas and Israel and Hamas. Is an Israeli war. Western, if you want, taken on a global level, Western or American-Israeli war against the entire Palestinian people. This war was erupted since November 2nd, 1917, when the United Kingdom issued the Balfour, the notorious Balfour Declaration. This war started was very explicit since 75 years ago, when the Israeli gangs or the Jewish gangs, the European Jewish gangs, foreign European Jewish gang, was ethnically cleansed the Palestinian people. And my father was born in our original village there in Berga, so that this is a war, a continuous war against the entire Palestinian people. But unfortunately, since 165 days, everyone is, the Western media and the Israeli propaganda is trying to put it or portray it as Israeli Hamas war. Could anyone explain if this is an Israeli Hamas war? How come more than we are talking about 40,000 Palestinians was killed till nearly 4,000 Palestinians was killed till now? 10,000 of them, another 10,000 is still missing under the rubble. 17,000 children is orphaned, and there is a lot of other statistical or other statistical numbers that is very shocking to the international community itself. If this is a war against Hamas, how could you explain that more than 500 Palestinians in the last 8 months only in the West Bank was killed? The majority of them, or a big percentage of them, is only child. How come war against Hamas, what is happening in West Bank, which is loud and clear? The Israeli government is calling for expelling the Palestinian people from their village. They are used to, and all of you heard the Israeli ministers and the Israeli officials, when assuming the office, is calling for the expelling the Palestinians from Gaza and West Bank. So that it's very important to say it's a war, it's a historical war against the entire Palestinian people, which is affecting every single Palestinian, not only in the occupied Palestinian territory, but also in the diaspora. 60% of the Palestinians people is living in the diaspora, which means we did not have, those 60% did not have the right to back to Palestine. So that it's very important to clarify, because by the end of the day, wording or word have a very specific meaning. It's an Israeli war against American-Israeli war against the entire Palestinian.
But Israelites said because of the October 7th attack, That's why they had to come en masse to clear out Hamas, which is being considered as a terrorist organization. Do you think the Israelis were right? They were provoked by the October 7 attack. Because before then, we didn't see such onslaught on the Palestinians.
Two things, three things. By the very last word that you mentioned, so that I should raise three things. First, Israel would like us, the international community, the whole international community, start counting as if the galaxy itself was created in October 7. October 6 itself, half a dozen Palestinian was killed. Since the beginning of 2023 till October 6, 152 Palestinian was killed. One of them is Mohammed al-Tamimi, slave 2.5 years old. It's for fun, so that the galaxy was not started or was not created in October 7th. There is an October 6th, October 5th, October 4th, and so on and so forth. Second, this is the Israeli, of course, propaganda regarding October 7th. The issue is, and I would like to refer you to October, to the Security Council meeting in October 24th, 2023, when Guterres himself, the Secretary General, was mentioning that this October 7 does not come from a vacuum. Then he referred it to the root cause of this of what happened in October 7, which means that if you want to analyze any political, this is not mathematical issue. This is not 1 + 1 = 2. This is a political issue, socio-economic, political, and all of this stuff. You need to analyze it, taking into consideration the incubator, the historical incubator. You cannot analyze October 7th as if this is the only day in the history. There is an incubator, there is a history behind it. If you want to ignore that 75 years of experience with the Palestinian people, if you want to ignore the notorious Balfour Declaration, if you want to ignore all the suffering that the Palestinian is faced a long time ago, since the Nakba 1948 and since the occupation 1967, this means that you, not you in person, of course, anyone trying to analyze this is completely biased. So that again, October 7th is not the starting point. There is a root cause for October 7th, and without tackling this root cause, we will not reach any future, or we will not reach any conclusion, unless we want again to become a part of the Israeli problem.
All right, today is the 26th day of June, which the United Nations have set aside as a day to recognize and appreciate those who have suffered torture in conflict situations. And reports reaching us tells us lots of Palestinian women and girls child were tortured by Israeli forces. How has this panned out? Are the Palestinians hoping to take this before the ICC? Now that it looks like the Israeli forces, Benjamin Netanyahu, they are agreeing to technically a ceasefire somewhere along the line. For Palestinian women and girls child, they have been reportedly tortured. What's the plan?
The issues, many or a lot of Palestinian women and children, people was tortured by Israel. It's not a lot. All the Palestinian people, any Palestinian was tortured with a different level of torture. When you deny my right, of the Palestinian did not have to back to visit their village, to back to their homeland, to back to their original homeland. This is a part of torture. So that unless you want to talk about the physical torture, which is there is a lot of UN reports is talking about the physical torture that the Palestinian is facing or endured in these days, especially the prisoners in the Israeli prisons, and there is a lot of very dark about different type of torture that the Palestinian prisoners is facing and suffering these days. Again, what I would like to say that there is tens of reports issued by the international community, mainly the different UN entities that we all should take a look to the abstract of these reports to make sure that what is happening on the ground will not repeat it for the other southern country, because again, what is happening in Palestine is indicator for the future of the South country. Anyone think or believe that he is safe and what is happening in Palestine for the Palestinian people trampling the international law is have no meaning or have no effect in his future, I can assure you that he's totally wrong. No one is safe until everyone is safe. What is coming or what is preparing or what is happening in Palestine, this is to pave the way for the new social, economic, and political order that is coming, and the Western country, in particular, again, the United States of America, and of course, what it is, agent Israel in the Middle East is trying to impose on the international, the whole entire world. What is happening in Palestine is very alarming indicators for all of the West, all of the Southern country. You in the South country, in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, need to take a very deep look of what is happening in Palestine. This is your future, unfortunately. Anyone, I know that many of your viewers right now will not believe of that, but I need you, or I advise, or I really want you to take a look what is happening against the international law, trampling the international law, throwing the UN Charter on the, so to speak, to the garbage, the televised genocide, with all of what is happening against the Palestinian people, or the tragedy that the Palestinians are suffering these days, and the international community is turning its blind eyes. This means that...
Would you say the whole of the international community is turning a blind eye when we have some countries that have already come out to say they would recognize the Palestinian state? We've had the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres always seeming to speak on the behalf of the Palestinian people. How would you assess the judgment and the support the Palestinian people have been getting in recent weeks and months?
It's not only in recent weeks. For example, Nigeria is supporting the Palestinian people. I spent 8 years in the United Nations, and Nigeria is very strong supporter to the Palestinian. The majority of African countries very strong supporter when it came to the theoretical issue. But again, there is many other tools that still in the international community hands to, if they use it, this will put an end to the Palestinian. So that what I would like to say that yes, we are receiving a lot of support, and you have all watched in the last 2-3 weeks many countries has recognized the state of Palestine. Spain and other European countries are here just last week. So that we still and we will continue to receive a lot of theoretical support and political support, but this is it is necessary, as we used to say in economic, but not sufficiently. I mean, it is necessary to say that we, the international community, still maintain and would like to maintain the international or the current international political order, the current international economic order, and the international law. But this is again not sufficient. Other tools that still in the hands of the international, even in the individuals, in the hands of the individual, it's political tools, economic tools, diplomatic tools, legal tools, all of these. Boycott Israel. It's very important. There is a lot of the UN reports and the UN officials talking about it's time to boycott Israel. It's time to stop supplying them with the weapons. It's time to stop communicating with all the companies that is working in the Israeli companies that is working and building the settlement in the occupied Palestinian territory. There is a resolution and a list the United Nations Human Rights Council is talking about many companies that is working or entrenching the footprint of the settlement in the Palestinian territory, which it is against the international law, against the UN Security Council resolutions, against the UN Charter. It's time to boycott all of these companies. It's time to, this is a very political, very legal, and very diplomatic tools that every country that can use it to pressure Israel to abide by the international law, to join the South African case in the ICJ. It's another tool that every country have it.
For the U.S., recently, we also know that in as much as U.S. is a strong ally of Israel, they've also shown the willingness to push pressure Israel to ceasefire. Wouldn't you also say the U.S. to an extent is also pushing on the part of the Palestinian people to ensure that this war ends and life returns back to normal? Do you think the Americans have shown enough support and recognition of the Palestinian people and what they've been through? And do you think with time there's a possibility the Palestinian state can be recognized fully by all people, the international community, especially looking at the United Nations Security Council? The votes at the point they seem to have gotten some support, even though US did veto it.
When you are talking about U.S. as allies of Israel, this means that you differentiate between both of them. I used to say, and this I'm not revealing a secret to say that, and I already said it in your studio this morning, that this is the United States of America war against the Palestinian people. It's very just or Hamas. No, against the Palestinian people. The United States of America before Hamas did not recognize the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, which is the basic right. So let us back just to some very important issue. You are against Hamas. Are you against the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, which is the basic right all of you in Africa, all of the African countries became a member state or independent state and member state of the United Nations based on this very important and very human principle. The United States of America did not recognize against the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. We have in the General Assembly, the United Nations General Assembly, in a yearly base, we have a resolution call for the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. United States of America is against completely. It's not only absent of voting. It's vote against this right, which means that they are in principle against the right of the Palestinian people in the self-determination. Let me just continue. All the propaganda that they are trying to in the media, it's just to throw the ash on the eyes. Just less than 1 week, more than 20 military airplane, American airplane was landed, and this is not my news. You can go to the Time of Israel, Yediot Ahronot, and all the Israeli newspapers talking about, and they're bringing the videos and photos that the American military airplane is landed in Israel full of military to Israel. All the weapons, the heavy weapons that according to the United Nations reports, all the heavy weapons that destroyed 60% of Gaza is US-made heavy weapons. All the airplanes, you know that they're targeting Hamas. Back to say targeting Hamas. When you are talking about targeting Hamas, this means that you acknowledge or you abide yourself by the Israeli propaganda. 40% of the Palestinian who is killed is Hamas. The majority of them, or 70% of them, is women and the child. So that again, you are saying the Hamas, it as excuse, but if you are talking, you are against Hamas. Just 3 days before October 7, the Israeli themselves, the county prime minister, he used to facilitate the money, the supply of money for Hamas from the Israeli airport. So that again, if you want to put Hamas and to use Hamas as excuse to kill and to destroy Gaza, to kill 40,000 Palestinians, 10,000 of them is still missing, and the Arab, what about what about the West Bank? So again, when you are talking the United States, we should not, or at least we in Palestine cannot and should not and will not differentiate between the Israeli occupation and the American support. So that, and this war cannot be to happen the full support state of America to so that again, if this is if the America is the honest model, the United States of America is still today is a Palestinian Liberation Organization, which the sole and legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. Even Israel recognizes the PLO as the sole and legitimate representative of Israel. The United States of America is treated it consider him as a terrorist man. So that again, United States of America is part of the problem. If you want to be more clear, it's the main issue or the main source of the problem.
Right, let's look at currently how are the Palestinians faring in terms of now that it looks like the war is going to come to an end. Is there any genuine effort by the United States, United Nations, and the international community to support the rebuilding of Rafah and the rebuilding of Gaza? What are your expectations of the Palestinian government and the Palestinian people?
You mentioned three pillars in this regard: United States, United Nations, and the international community. As I already mentioned, and I'm not revealing a secret, United States of America is part of the problem, not the solution. United States of America is launched. This war is launched by the full permission, by the full support of the United States of America. All the weapons that destroy Gaza, all the airplanes that attacking Gaza and the Palestinian people is U.S. weapons and U.S. by the full support of the U.S. So that again, United States of America is part of the problem, not the solution. When it came to the United Nations itself, I think all of you watch the Israeli ambassador on the podium of the General Assembly when he already destroy and the Charter of the United Nations itself. And in a daily basis, they are accusing Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations itself, as a terrorist and Hamas supporter. Could you imagine Antonio Guterres is a terrorist supporter? So that I think the United Nations itself, to be very frank, there is two main pillars or two main bodies in the United Nations: the Security Council, which is completely paralyzed by the American veto when it came to the Palestinian-Israeli issue or to the Israeli occupation, and when it came to the other pillar, which is the General Assembly, which is the international community, 193 countries or states, member states, is trying to do something, but by the end of the day, what is guiding the world is the logic of power. What is happening these days is the implementation of the logic of power or the jungle law itself. So that when it came to the United Nations, they issuing a lot of reports, not all of the body of the United Nations. There is more than one of the United Nations officials who is assuming a very important office and position, completely turning their blind eyes to the Palestinian issue. Some of them even did not remember that there is what is happening, remember or trying to touch base of what is happening in Palestine. So that this is the United Nations itself. They are trying, but they are, to be very frank, there is a lot of reports, very important reports, that issued by the documented and issued by the United Nations, which is very important for our future and for the international community and for all the researchers to know what is happening in Palestine. Finally, the third pillar, which is the international community. The international community still have a lot of tools if they utilize it, if they use it.
Do you think they're willing to use it, or do you think they're going to use it?
There is a big difference between willing or going to use it.
Okay.
Willing, yes, every country had the full right to use this type of very political, very diplomatic, and very legal tools. There is no one can enforce X or Y of country is not to buy the Israeli occupation. There is no one can enforce any country in the world not to abide by the council resolution of the bicameral list of the companies that working and trenching the Israeli settlement in the occupied Palestinian territory, which means that the international community again still have a lot of tools, very diplomatic, very legal, very polite, very non-violence tools that if they use it, they will put the Israeli occupation in the corner and they will pressure Israel to abide by the international. But this is about whether they have the willpower to do it. But the issue is, will they use it? I think that they need to know that if the international community, if the African country, if the Asian country believe that they will, or their country, whether it is today and unfortunately in the future it's coming, I personally believe it's coming, they will be in the row and they will face the same fate, not in a not in a physical level, but in a political level, they will face the fate of the Palestinian people. I think they should, it's a very alarming and very wake-up call for every country to take a very deep look and after the World War II international and all of this should apply in equal for everyone. No one is safe until everyone is safe.
All right. Final note for the Palestinian people will be a word of consolation or living in Nigeria and across the globe.
Yes, we have a very good community in Nigeria, and some of them became Nigerian nationality, and many of our, unfortunately, what is happening in Gaza was destroying a lot of hospitals. I personally received a bunch of those doctors, surgical doctors, who came from Gaza, and now they are working in Nigeria in different hospitals. They have 25 and some of them 30 years of experience. Yes, we are well-educated people. 98%, not 97. 98%.
That's a big one.
98% is the literacy rate in Palestine. So that part of the war is against the education. 60% of the Palestinian people is living in the diaspora. We are very educated people. We have many things to share it, even here in Nigeria. And my first concern was when I came here as an ambassador is to strengthen the bilateral relations in the sustainable development issue. We have the know-how of medicine issue, producing the medicine. We have 7 manufacturers in Palestine.
Wow.
In this very tiny or this very small area, we have 7 medicine manufacturers. 7. So that we have the well-known or the know-how in this type of field. We have the know-how. The very expert. We are very expert in the agriculture issue and many issues. So that part of my work, of course, is to enhance and to encourage the Palestinian people who have the know-how is to come to and to invest here in Nigeria and Africa in large, of course. But if you ask me about my main message to the Palestinian people, it's not only to the Palestinian people, to the whole international community, to the Nigerian people, Christian and Muslim, to everyone. Again, to my people, we are there, we will not leave. We know that we have no other option except to stand firm, to make sure that we are on the right side of the history, and we will continue to resist this occupation by all means and by all tools. To the international community, to the people here in Africa, again, no one is safe until everyone is safe. What is happening in Palestine or against the Palestinian people in the macro level should be again alarming, and a very alarming issue to all of you. Trampling the international law might negatively affect the Palestinian people these days, but the future, or in the future, you will all be, especially the southern country, online on the law.
All right, no one is safe until everyone is safe is the take-home you have to take from Abdullah Abu Sharesh, the Palestinian ambassador to Nigeria, very revealing as regards the issue, saying that October 7 is not the beginning of the crisis or what led to the conflict, and the fact that the United States allegedly is using the Hamas equation to continue the suppression or marginalization of the Palestinian people. But we are hoping that in the coming days and weeks, peace will finally return to the Gaza Strip, and the Palestinian people will be able to return home. 60% of them living in diaspora, and their greatness in medicine and other aspects of life is not in doubt, as they've got 7 manufacturing companies in Gaza alone. So it tells you the quality of the people, of the Palestinian people, and we're hoping that the United Nations, the International Committee, would do the needful to ensure that peace returns to the Middle East and to the people of Palestine, and so that the United Nations and the international community would, for a change, recognize and appreciate the people of Palestine, so that there could be peace in the world. That's how we're going to call it a wrap. I want to say a big thank you to the Palestinian ambassador for the great job he's doing, trying to ensure that the world sees the truth as regards the challenges the people of the Palestinian nation has been going through since the 1970s. And like he put it, the incubation of the Palestinian people, and not the war between Israel and Hamas, but the incubation of the Palestinian people. On that note, I want to say a big thank you. Always a pleasure having you in the studios.
Thank you so much.
And so this also giving kudos to South Africa and other nations that have finally recognizing the Palestinian people. And we'll go for a quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be wrapping up Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. Stay with us.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy